Are you good? Are you cool? Are you clean? Is everyone Irie? Shout out JH. I see you. I see you've been shouting me out lately. I definitely appreciate that. Throwing back some love your way. Shout out to Mailman Nick. I see you, some of the pioneers in the game. Shout out to Corey Walton over from his podcast from A to Arbitration. Shout out to Tyler Vassar at Branch 9 out of Minnesota. Shout out to you guys out in Branch 2525 who had the Resolution 22 pass at the National Convention. Shout out to Mailman Saeed, Mailman Derek. Shout out to Sheba. Shout out to everyone on all these platforms lending a hand to get our message out there. Guys, what I want to do today is touch base and try to give you guys a little bit of information on stationary events, what they entail, and how they can be used against you. All right, so basically there are a couple type of stationary events they're looking for. Some of them are included in your route, so they can't really be used against you. But the ones that are used against you, that's what I want to talk to you about. So number one, what they're looking for are centralized events. Okay, centralized events are kind of the stationary events that are built into your route. That's when your truck is parked. That's why when you're inside of your apartment complex delivering mail, parcels, filling out pink slips for unsecure location packages, filling out when you leave a slip notice, anything that you have to do inside your apartment complex, putting together the mail, anything that you're doing there and your scanner's not moving, that's a centralized event. Okay, that's not really being used against you, but it is being added to the end of the day with your cumulative amount of stationary time. Okay, what they're looking for is events. Okay, so the centralized event, and the next one's going to be events with parcels. So that's when you're parked up and you're scanning parcels to be delivered. If you have to go off of your route in the morning with the supervisor's permission to deliver a parcel that may be too heavy, or a parcel that's just irregularly sized, and you need to get it out of your truck, that's what that's going to be. That's events with parcels. If you have overtime and you're strictly delivering parcels, that's going to be events with parcels. Again, this isn't being used against you. If you park mid-street, mid-loop to try to get your parcels out before you deliver the mail on that relay, that's not being used against you. Should we be doing that? I don't know. However, if that's what you're being tagged for, you should be fine. What they're looking for is those events without parcels. Those are the events that you can't justify. Well, they can't justify why you haven't been moving. Okay, now you could defend those as long as you're working. Okay, you could be inside your truck putting together mail for your next relay. You could be organizing your packages for your next relay. What you could be doing is endorsing your mail, going through your missorted, gathering that together. You should be doing that at the end of the day, to get back the office time at the end of the day. However, as long as you're working and doing some type of work function, if you're questioned what were you doing when you didn't have a parcel, call your shop steward and he'll be ready to help you defend against that. Keyword, as long as you're working. What they're really looking here is for those events without parcels. Okay, so what it comes down to is your longest stop without a parcel or without a centralized stop. So why were you sitting if you weren't delivering at an apartment complex, you weren't delivering at a school, at a police station, anything that you have to stop your truck and physically go inside a building and deliver? If you weren't at those locations, if you weren't physically parked up because you were delivering packages in that loop, what were you doing? Okay, so this is when they're looking at your time on break. All right, so your 210s and your 30, that's protected. However, if you go over your 30 by even a minute, they're coming after you. I see it in my installation. They're questioning carriers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes. Why did you go over your 30? These are considered longest stops without a centralized event or a event without parcel. Okay, so how do you defend against this? Keyword, guys, remain working. As long as you're working on the street, remember this data cannot be used against us for the time being. All right, so as long as you're working, you should be fine. At the end of the day, they put all these numbers together and they come up with your total amount of events. So how many events were you at apartment complexes? How many events were you with parcels? How many events you were without parcels? And then they look at the total minutes of your total stationary time. Okay, when you look at the longest stop without parcel, that's where you get your break time. So subtract your break time from the total amount of time, and then you have to then they can see how much of that time is justified or not. Okay, if you're being called constantly in the office and they're asking you these questions, call your shop steward. Remember, you're working. Whether you're going through mail in the back, if you're putting together your relay, that's working. All right, guys. As long as you are doing what you got to do out here, you have nothing to worry about. Shout out to all the shop stewards. Remember, guys, we got to protect our job. We got to protect our craft. This is just something that I'm putting out there because I know that with a new tentative agreement coming real soon, management is slick and wise enough to come at us even stronger than they have before. So, guys, this is just a way of us to be proactive and understand that as long as we have these MDD scanners attached to our hips, the data is being pushed up to someone and someone is watching it. All right, so just be aware that we are being watched constantly and you have to protect yourself. Again, guys, as long as you remain working and scanning your packages at your delivery points and carrying that scanner with you on your loops, you're going to be perfectly fine. All right, guys, until next time I'll be here, you'll be there. Peace.